Hey guys, this is gonna be a new movie vlog. Today we're gonna be talking about the Meg, the movie with Jason Statham and all that. That was based on this. That was based on this book right here. Um, there's about I think 6 of these books, and I've read all but the last one. And this is actually the revised and extended edition. See, so this like because in the books it always talks about like it touches on Jonas Taylor's first encounter with the Meg down in the Marianas Trench, and this one, and Steve Alton made a short story that covers it in depth, and this has that short story at the beginning before the actual book starts. So that was cool. Basically, like I'll get into it, but there's a lot of inconsistencies in the movie with in and this book, like that a lot of the stuff that happens in the book, in the movie, or the way it goes down in the movie, or things that are in the movie don't happen or in the book, and I'll get into that later. They're kind of they're kind of minor, so if you they're kind of minor, but there's so many of them. If you've read the book, it'll drive you a little nutty, or at least it did me. But there's some miscasting in here. But again, I'll get into all that. But basically, if you want to know if it was a good movie or not, it's a good movie. As long as you hadn't read any of the books. Otherwise it kind of dampens it. Not it doesn't ruin it. Not by any means. It just will annoy you. So we'll get into all that. So basically the it's about okay. So with the books, it's about this guy that he was a deep sea submarine pilot for the Navy in the book, and he goes down into the Mariana Trench with these scientist guys. He encounters a Meg, and he tries to get up. He freaks because it's a Meg. It's a megalodon. You're gonna freak. So so he freaks, ascends way too fast, and most of the people die. And the one that and most of the scientists in the sub die, but except for him. And I think the one that didn't die either was catatonic or died shortly thereafter. I can't remember. But in the movie, no, he's just a deep sea submersible rescue guy. He goes down into the depths of the water and rescues people from that from submarines and stuff that are sunk, can't move, they can't get out. That's what he does in the movie. And his encounter with the Megas, he doesn't really know what it is. Or at least there's no reason he should know what it is. And but basically he's rescuing these people from this sunken submarine, and and he sees the side of the hull to start crunching in and all that because a Meg is trying to bite into it. So he gets into his sub that's connected with all the rescue people, but 2 members of his team are stuck in another area of the sub, and they're like, "Don't, you gotta go. There's no time. We're dead. You go." That's what they're saying, and like he doesn't want to do it, but he's forced to. And when he does it, one of the doctor, which he rescued in this from this sub, basically like calls him crazy and ruins his career. No, it happens. It even happens in the book. Not in that way, but it still happens. So, after that, we cut to what's that? I can't remember the Asian guy's name. Uh, but we cut to him and his daughter, which are on this deep sea. No, this well, it's essentially a rig, but a rig on top, a oil rig on top, but a deep sea lab on the bottom. And we meet this billionaire that funded the whole thing, which I can't remember the actor's name. All I know is he played on The Office, and he plays the millionaire or whatever. And they're there. They have a deep sea submersible going into the Mariana Trench, and they explain that for for a long time we thought the Mariana Trench is the deepest part of the ocean, and that the ocean, whoa, that the ocean floor is at such and such level. But we have a theory that it's not the ocean floor; it's a thermal fog or whatever, and the ocean floor is much deeper. And they're right. So they go through that, and they get stuck. They get hit by a Meg because the Meg's attracted to their lights. Okay, before I go any further, they messed this part up with the Meg. The Meg, in the books, the Meg is bioluminescent. It glows, and they describe it as a faint ghostly glow, because kind of thing. And in this, it does not glow at all. And it's very annoying. It's little things like that are throughout this movie that are very inconsistent with the book. And again, if you haven't read the book, it's not going to bother you. If you've read the book, it'll kind of bug you, at least with how many they are. But it bugs me a lot more than the average person because I'm me. So it's one of those things. It depends on what the inconsistency is, how big it is, and how many of them there are. And it's one of those things where, like, well, it may bug me in this movie or whatever, but it won't bug me here. So it's really weird, but it just bugs me. Moving on. So they get hit by the Meg, and they're sunk. They're sinking. They're sunk. They're dead in the water, like 7-8 miles down, kind of dead in the water. So they're like, okay, we gotta go get Jonas Taylor. And I really don't think Jason Statham was the right guy for this. And neither was the guy that played Mac. I don't remember who played Mac. But Mac, okay, he's kind of portrayed as a lovable goof in this. In the book, he is by far a lovable goof because if I remember right, where Jonas Taylor was a deep sea submersible pilot for the Navy, he was one of their pilots for like helicopter, aircraft stuff. I can't remember exactly. I just know that they were both in the Navy or air or something. And his personality, like, he was a rough and gruff kind of crude guy, and at times borderline vulgar, but he was still a good guy. He wasn't a lovable goof. He was a very much, I could rough you up if I need to kind of guy. I don't want to, but if I need to, I could. So that's kind of how he was in the book. He is nothing like that in the movie. And I don't know, and I don't remember the guy that played him, but he shouldn't, whoever it was should not have played him. I've seen the guy in other stuff. I can't remember the dude's name. I'll look it up. But Jonas Taylor, like played by Jason Statham, I don't think that was a good match. I love Jason Statham. I don't think he was a good Jonas Taylor. I don't like people. People have asked me, well, who would you have cast? Honestly, like off the top of my head, like if I thought about it, I could come up with a few other people. But off the top of my head, I would pick Hugh Jackman. I'm not talking and you're thinking, like, oh great, Wolverine. No, he has to get pumped and jacked for that role. And you listen to him talk about prepping for that role. It takes a toll on him to get in that kind of shape. Jonas Taylor was not like a huge gruff, ripped guy. He was just an average guy that did average kind of built guy that went down in that piloted submarines. You don't have to be huge and ripped for that. I would have had just Hugh Jackman in somewhat decent shape play that role. That's what I would have done. So, yeah, like Hugh Jackman, I think could have played that role a lot better. But they even do. I don't remember exactly, but I feel like they do some things in this movie that happen in other books. I'll get into that. I could be wrong, but again, it's been a while since I've read all the books. So, basically, they get Jonas Taylor back from Thailand because this is how where this is taking place. It's like in Korea, China kind of area. Well, I guess it's more like China Sea or something. But he's in Thailand, so they go like, "Hey, we got this is happening. We need you. I don't want to go. Hear this recording. Okay, I'm coming." So that's where they get him, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, your wife's there. It's your wife. She's down there." He's like, "Okay, fine, I'll do it. It's your ex-wife. I'm sorry, ex-wife. I'll get into that in a minute." And oh yeah, the doc that hates you and kind of ruined your career. He's got to check you out so you can go down there. He's like, you know, he literally kind of makes that face, and so he gets down there, and again, um. I could be getting the books mixed up, but uh, I'm pretty sure he's married. I'm trying to remember. I'm getting the first two books mixed up because there's a 4-year gap in between them. But I'm thinking that um him and the Asian guy's daughter, I can't remember her name. They get together in between the 4-year gap. I think because I think he's still kind of married in the first book. Uh, and him and the Asian Asian chick get together and have kids. It's either no, they have kids in between the second and third book because the third book he's much older. So really the second book's my favorite. I'm trying to remember, like, it's been a while. I wish I should have read some of them to prep for this, but I didn't. So again, there's a lot of inconsistencies, but basically, yeah, the Asian chick doesn't have any kids until she gets with Jonas. In this movie, she already has like a 7, 8-year-old daughter. I think that's about how old she is. Now, she's a fun character too. Um, so he gets down there and like we're given no indicate. Like, okay, in the books he went from after this happened, he went from a deep sea submersible pilot to basically a scientist giving lectures and stuff on the subject of Megalodon. We're given no indication that he even knows what a Megalodon is in this movie until they encounter it on screen and he's like, Megalodon. So glad I'm not crazy. I'm like, it's one of those things. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I think they should have stepped closer to the book in that regard, explaining why he knows about it, because we're given no reason in this movie. But again, if I think it would have required a lot more setup if they stepped closer to the origins of what the book in terms of how why he goes down into the water to begin with, that kind of thing. But it's a it's it, it's an okay movie. So basically, he rescues them all. They get up through the thermal stuff and they realize that the Meg followed them because a thermal vent shot up through the cold icy layer, and it provided like basically a highway. So the Meg gets out and they start chasing it. They get their butts kicked essentially. Um, they they poison the Meg. They poison the Meg. Like this is another movie. This is another part that I seem to remember more in the second book than the first. I could be wrong, and I again I very well could be wrong because Been a long time since I read the first one, but they get the Meg and they get the Asian guys. I can't remember any of their names. Uh, the Asian chick into the this unique clear plastic cylinder shark cage, which they said no, it's impossible to break. And I remember that, and I remember them saying that in the second book about this thing. So I remember it for sure being in the second book. But when that happened in the second book, it was more because this in the book it was more this woman was a journalist and she wanted to get pictures essentially. That's what happened in the book. But anyway, um so they so no, it won't break, but he can swallow it. So she's like the shark cage is like halfway down this Meg's mouth, and Jonas jumps into the water and gets her out of it, and like and they kind of like wear it down until the poison kicks in and it kills it. Then and I don't know how they did this because it doesn't show how they did this, but they got the Meg up on the boat. Like it's like maybe a small yacht. I don't know, but it's like okay, that thing's got to weigh how much? It should sink the boat. And then they pull a Jaws. They pull a Jaws because Jonas took a picture of the teeth of the mouth, and he's like looking at it with the Asian chick, and he's like, this seems small. This bite radius seems smaller, you know. And then out of nowhere, a bigger Meg jumps out of the water, grabs the Meg's body on the boat, lands on the boat, and rolls off and tips over the boat. I'm sorry, shouldn't that have just crushed or just sunk the boat right out? You know, instead of like, so like, okay, the Meg jumps on the boat and the boat just goes like that into the water. You know, that kind of weight, man. Anyway, that's fun. Um, so they they get rescued because billionaires got helicopter mercenaries on call, so they get rescued, and the doctor dies. He's like distracting the Meg, so this engineer chick that designed the whole research station, which I can't remember what this actress's name is. I just remember the two things I've seen her in before this. One was the third Triple X movie, and then the other series was Batwoman on WB. That's the only other things I've seen her in. But forgetting about Batwoman, I like her. I like her. She was a fun character in those other two movies. So forgetting about the elephant in the room, essentially, in these other two movies, she's actually pretty good. But so they get rescued. Oh, and this is another inconsistency. The Asian dad, Masako, something like that. I can't remember exactly how to pronounce his name. He dies because he gets injured in the wreck. So he dies, like on the rescue boat. So uh, which I don't remember when he died, but I seem to remember him still being around in like the third or fourth book. And like in the third book, Jonas is in his like early 60s. So it's it's like he's around a while cuz in the first book he's like in his 30s or 40s, I think. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure. So um like he doesn't like the grandpa doesn't die at least until like the third or fourth book. So he's like but he dies in the first movie. That's an inconsistency right there. Um. So let's see. The Big Meg. starts going to this. No. Before that, like the billionaire just shuts the place down. He's like, we we got to call in the whatever Coast Guard or whatever and let them know about this stuff. So like we can't work right now. So he shuts them down while he himself goes with his mercenary buddies and tries to hunt the thing down, and they end up killing a whale. And then he realizes the Meg's right below us because we tagged it. And so he like, we gotta go. So they book it on the ship, and the sudden acceleration makes him fall off the boat, and he tries to climb on the whale, and the Meg eats him. Uh, um, let's see. So Jonas and group figure that out, and so they chase it to a beach, like the beach. It like the Meg is like in the shallows of the beach essentially, and he's chowing down like buffet time. And this is another thing they tried to pull from Jaws, kinda. Is like there's a kid talking to his mom that he wants to go back into the water, and she finally like, okay, go back in the water. And he gets caught in the group that's about to get eaten by the Meg because the Meg like circles this small area after the chaos happened, and like chow time. Then the Jonas and company drop this microphone into water that sounds of whales because he'll eat whale, and which I hear is pretty good. So the Meg steers off, right, and they fight with the Meg in the submersibles, and okay, apparently they killed the Meg in the same way in the book, and I still say this was a stupid idea. I don't know why they thought this was a good idea. I don't know why Steve Alton thought this was a good idea. But so Jonas's sub gets side of the sub gets messed up, gets like damaged or whatever. So there's a piece of metal like sticking out like this, and he's just like, I'm gonna make this thing bleed, and he like rams, charges the shark, steers off. That way, the piece of metal like skews the side of the Meg like from mouth to tail, and all that. And then but the Meg turns around and catches Jonas' sub in his mouth and starts to clamp down and like destroy the sub. But he gets out of the sub, and okay. This I specifically remember from the third book, but done differently. Like instead of uh anyway, so so stupid. He's like got this like little jack or something or pressure thing, and like the Meg leaps out of the water. The Jason Statham's like right here on its face, and like he just rams this thingamajig into the Meg's eye, and they fall back down into the water. And like because of the blood and all, it attracts other sharks and starts eating the Meg. Now, I'm pretty sure if you have a predator that size, normal predators aren't going to go around regardless, even if they have numbers on their side. So I could be wrong. I don't know. But uh, we see okay, this is another thing. We see a shark swimming out of its mouth, which like I've heard people say that no, that's not the baby Meg. That's not a baby Meg coming out of its mouth. Well, in the book, the shark has a baby, and I don't remember I just remember like it was albino, because it's like the main feature in the second book. So like in the book, like after all this goes down, him and the baby Meg lock eyes, and like they capture the like because in the second book that baby Meg is full grown, and like they're like keeping it in this enclosure that they built originally for whales, and like they host shows to raise money, like SeaWorld style with this thing, like but like it like okay, it's like, okay, here's food for you, for you. I don't even remember. It had a name, but I don't remember what the name is. And like it would go like that, like SeaWorld style. And they would raise money for it. But that's in the second book. But in the first book, we see that like the Meg had a baby at the end. And I think it like the baby just swam out somewhere after as the sharks are eating it, which happens in this book. But the way they filmed it was really really weird because like there's okay, we know that's supposed to be a shark. I've heard people like saying like no because it came out of its mouth. There's no way that was a baby. It was a shark that ate up and from the outside and came out from the inside. And I'm like, well, that's a good idea, but the way they filmed it, the way they shot it, was too specific for it to not to be a baby Meg. Which it's like, okay, why didn't they just film it coming out of the other end? So it's just because in the book it swam out of like as they were eating it, which we see that just in a weird way. And so it's just it was weird. The Meg has a baby in this book. That's why we have that's why we have 5 other books after this. So it's it's an okay movie. As long as you'll love it if you haven't read the books. If you've read the books, you'll get annoyed at best in turn with the inconsistencies. So like okay, I even wrote down some of the inconsistencies. Let's see. Like I said, Jonas Taylor is a deep sea rescue guy instead of a deep sea Navy pilot. He has an ex-wife. I don't seem to remember him having an ex until the second book. Doesn't get married to the Asian woman until in between the first and second book, because there's a 4-year gap there. Because the second book cuts in between their 2 adventures. In the book, he becomes essentially a scientist. In this one, no. The Asian, like I said, the Asian dad doesn't die until like the 3rd or 4th book. In this one, he dies right away, and he's not a grandpa until his daughter and Jonas have kids. Oh yeah, like I said, in the book, the Meg was bioluminescent. So you didn't see her. So when she started coming, you wouldn't see her. You would see her ghostly glow first until you could actually make out what it was, because they describe that a lot in the books. Because the first thing you'll see is a glow, and then as the glow gets closer, you'll start to see out. Oh, it's a shark. A big shark. They didn't have that in the movie, and they very specifically make that a thing in the books. Anyway, The Meg was a fun movie. You'll love it if you haven't read the books, like I said. If you read the books, there'll be a few things that'll annoy you. It won't break the movie, it'll just be, oh, really? That kind of thing. Anyway, that's all I got. Love you guys. Wildman out.